right, I see people are logging in. It's right at the top of the hour. We're going to get going here in a second. Appreciate everybody being here today. I'm very excited for this presentation, and I will explain that in a few minutes why so, but we're going to give it another minute while people are logging in. I'm just going to take a quick look through here. All right, recognize some names for sure. Great to see everybody. And I guess I'm going to give it about 30 seconds just to let everybody come in and get a drink of water. All right, I think we can kick it off with just a little introduction here, and then I'll hand it over to Geraldine. I want to thank everybody for being part of this. This is our newer series of webinars that we started a handful of months ago on practice management topics. It's been going over great. This is not only a Living Today live, but this will live on YouTube after today, so you can always go refer back to it. This is available for CPE, just so everybody knows. You need to answer the polling questions as they pop up and stay logged in for 50 minutes, and you will get your CPE certificate sent to you from Tri-Merit. A couple of while we're still waiting for people to log in, a couple of quick notes. If you were interested, we have a couple of more CPE offerings coming out. One at the end of this month, the last Thursday of the month, we're going to be doing a webinar on the new tax legislation. So we'll be talking about how the CHIPS bill and how the Inflation Reduction Act are affecting specialty tax. And there's 3 areas of specialty tax that's going to be affecting. So that'll come out the last Thursday of this month. I'm sorry, I don't know the date off the top of my head. In addition, a week from, not even a week, today's Thursday, on Monday of this week, this coming week, Monday the 15th, we are going to have a live version of my podcast, the Unique CPA Podcast. That'll be live on YouTube. There's a link on the Tri-Merit website right now, the Tri-Merit YouTube page, where you can log in. I've got 7 great guests. We're going to be going for about an hour and a half from the Beer Temple in Chicago. So we'll be enjoying some beers, which I don't think Geraldine drinks beers when I remember talking to her.
Why wasn't I invited to that? Sounds great.
Well, Geraldine, you are more than happy, more than welcome. It might be a little too last second for that, but that'll be on YouTube. That'll be available for CPE later when it's rebroadcast on Earmark. And in addition, just as a side note, we are having our 2nd annual virtual conference, November 30th, December 1st this year. Information is now on Tri-Merit's website. With that being said, I'm stealing Geraldine's time. I want to do a quick introduction to our guest presenter today, Geraldine Carter. What she does is she helps CPA firms create more profit through less effort, which sounds very exciting to me. Her clients that she works with routinely double their margins within 6 months, and while they're working fewer hours. She is highly educated. When I wanted to make sure you know this, she has a degree in engineering from Cornell University, which is, I'm very jealous. That's awesome. And with that being said, Geraldine is now going to educate us for the next 50 minutes or so on how we can use pricing to improve our profitability. Geraldine, it is all yours.
All right. Thank you, Mark. And I mean, sorry. Thank you, Randy. I've got Mark's screen. I've got Mark written on my thing right under you. Thank you. That's fine, Randy, for having me. And it's great to be with you. For listeners, for viewers out there, I've also had Randy on my podcast back about a year ago when we were discussing ERC. So it's fun to be on the other side of things. And I think, Randy, I've been on your podcast talking about what eating kale for 2 weeks taught me about accounting. So listeners can go back and get that one too. So we are talking about pricing for improved profitability today. And this is a common challenging point for CPAs. There's a lot of vestige thinking in the accounting space that comes from a history of hourly billing that is still sort of contaminating the thinking around how to price. And what I want for you to have today are some really clear and simple steps so that if you are still billing hourly, or even if you've moved off of hourly, how you can improve your prices so that you can better capture the value that you create for your buyers. And when you better capture the value that you create for your buyers through improved pricing, that of course means you bring in more revenue for the same amount of work, which means you don't have to work as hard for the revenue that you bring in. So here's some reasons for you to be compelled, hopefully, to implement some changes. The first one I mentioned here, that you can stop overcompensating for the lost earnings. By working harder, when you learn how to price and when you appreciate value, you can create a higher value product. When you create a higher value product, you attract and you work with better clients. Of course, then you start this virtuous cycle that your business gets easier to run. You enjoy working with your clients more because you're getting better compensated. You feel finally fairly compensated for all the value that you provide in terms of tax savings and helping your especially business owning clients or real estate investing clients improve their revenue, build their assets. And you enjoy the experience more, you get more time back, then you focus on improving how you run your firm, and everything just gets better. So there are a lot of reasons to focus on pricing as the avenue through which to improve your firm. So Randy said a lot of this at the top. The name of my podcast, if you're interested, is Business Strategy for CPAs. You can find it in whatever podcast player you use. And I run 2 programs primarily for coaching CPAs. One of them is my mastermind program. It's a 4-month program where we do all the things that Randy mentioned at the top, which result in you doubling your margins and getting down from an insane work week down to a sane work week, and then eventually down to a 25-hour work week, which might seem unattainable for some of you, especially if you have money tied up with hours. What we do is we divorce money from hours because really money comes from value. So this is a testimonial from one of my clients. She's 4 tax brackets higher. She's in California, so you can figure out the tax brackets. So let's dig in here. The first place that we need to start is reframing the mentality that higher prices are bad for your clients and that you don't want to charge them more. I want you to think about this. It is good for my clients when I charge them more. That initially at the outtake seems like a poke in the eye. How can it be good for my clients when I charge them more? That can't possibly be good for them. But here are 6 ways that it is good for your clients. It is good for your clients when you charge them more. When you charge people more, they are more engaged. They show up better. They show up fully engaged. They're more likely to prepare for their meetings with you because you've charged them more. They sit up and they take notice. They sit up straight. They think, I'm paying this guy a lot. I better get prepared for this meeting. They prioritize your meetings with you over other things that are going on in their business or in their life when they're paying a lot for it. So when they are more engaged, they are going to get better results from working with you. Second thing is that we perceive things that are more expensive as more valuable, right? So if there's a $1,000 pen on your desk next to a $1 pen on your desk, you're probably going to assume that the $1,000 pen is a better pen than the $1 pen. Same with cars, same with fancy purses, luxury items. They are more expensive because the sellers know that it increases your perception of the value simply because it is more expensive. When you raise your prices, you think to yourself, holy smokes, this is a lot of money. I better do a good job. It forces you to show up and deliver a better product. You make your service better because you know that your clients are thinking, holy smokes, this is a lot of money. This product better be good. Raising your prices forces you to show up and make a better product for them. It's good for your clients when you make them a better product. So, a couple more here. When you raise your prices, you attract people who are predisposed to success. They have the money to pay you. They have the money to pay you because they've already been successful elsewhere in their life. They know how to be successful. So you attract clients who are predisposed to success. And when you work with people who are predisposed to being successful because they've already figured out, learned how to be successful, they come to you. And it's easier to work with clients who already have more money, who have learned how to be successful, than to work with the clients who haven't yet learned how to be successful. You put more effort into those people who haven't yet figured it out. This one isn't universally true, but how many times have you had the experience, number 5 here, that the client, there's this meme that goes out, this little graphic that is the client who shows up and you charge $50,000 and they're like, great, check sent, when can we start? And the client who's paying you $500 is like, because of all my special circumstances and all my special needs, and with this consideration and that consideration, I expect that you're going to give me this and give me that and give me all the other. The client who pays you less often tends to need more from you. And the last one here is that when you raise your prices, it then requires fewer hours from you, less effort from you in order to make the same amount of revenue. And that frees up your time to get you on the virtuous cycle where you can continue to improve your product, you make it more efficient, you systematize it better, you optimize it more, you have more time to listen to your clients, you better understand the value that you're creating, you continue to pump value into your product. So it is good for your clients to charge them more. Charging your clients more is not debits and credits. Is not you taking money from them, right? It is not bad for them when they pay you money, okay? So we want to think about, get into the headspace of charging your clients more, being good for them. So for people who are still charging hourly, what is so bad about hourly? It incentivizes slowness is the main one, or is a main one. I can't tell you how many times I've been in meetings with CPAs and I watch them mouse click around for things that can be done with keyboard shortcuts. I've seen CPAs widen one column at a time in an Excel spreadsheet by right-clicking, typing in the width 15.5 of the Excel box and doing one column after the next, all the way down the spreadsheet. You can highlight 8 and drag and drop, and they all resize at once. But when you don't have an incentive to get faster, you do not learn to get faster. And I've been in meetings with CPAs who recreate tax tables inside the meeting. When you have a flat rate, you create the tax table once and you use it, you put it somewhere obvious and you use it every single time. It incentivizes slowness. You might as well go back to dial-up, you make more money. The client, on the other hand, prefers that things get done quickly. They have better things to do, forgive me, than sitting in meetings with their CPA, watching their CPA recreate tax tables and widen columns. They want things done faster. And you know this because they're pestering you. They're like, where's my return? But when you bill hourly, you don't have an incentive to get any faster. In fact, when you get faster at it, you make less money. And all you do is create more work for yourself because now you've got to bring in more clients. And now you have more clients and you have more headaches. There's also no clear price for your buyer. They have no idea if you're going to charge them $2,000 or $20,000. Nobody likes to go to the grocery store. Just imagine walking in and having no prices on anything in the deli case or in the wine section of the grocery store. And you're sitting there like, I don't know anything about French wine or Chilean wine. And you accidentally pick up a Chateau Petrus for like $2,000 and you don't know the difference. And you walk out of the store. And then 6 weeks later, you get your credit card bill and you're like, why did my groceries cost me $2,400? It's because there was a bottle of wine on there. You didn't know how much it cost. It's not your job to know as the buyer how much things are going to cost or how long it's going to take your CPA to get something done. It is incumbent upon you as the seller to specify a price for your buyer. So another one here is that your revenue, this one you can feel. This one is like, it feels tangible, is that you run out of time in the work week to make more money. There's 2,000 hours a year that you can work, 2,500 if you want to go crazy. But you end up bumping up against your calendar and fighting with your calendar about how to make more money. And it's always a trade-off of, do I go to my daughter's piano recital or do I stay and finish that return? I could really use the extra $2,000 for my kids' braces. This is the Faustian bargain that you're engaged in every time you're billing hourly. And then the last one here is that there's a lack of agreement on outcome. The CPA just gets started doing the work without understanding what eventually the client really wants. And you get paid to get started working. So there's no agreement on the outcome. And you might experience this if you have difficult conversations with your clients about the end result. So here's your first review question. And I think Randy's also going to pop up review questions.
I am coming. All right. First review question. Launch now. Make sure you get your response in. Hit enter, or what? I don't see the button there, so I assume it's enter. Just get your response in so that we get your CPE out to you.
Great. All right. So symptoms of hourly billing. If you have any of these or all of these, hint, hint, they're symptoms of hourly billing. So I'm going to skip past the answer. I don't want to give it away. Oops.
I think you did already.
Okay, cool.
I've got 95% participation here at Geraldine, so I'm going to close this poll, and I'm not going to show the results. Let's just say that in this case, everybody said all of the above.
Excellent. Great. Got good students. All right. Okay. So let's get into some pricing, because that's really why you're here. So we can't talk about pricing without talking about value, because really your prices are just the way that you capture value, in the same way that time is captured by the watch on your wrist. Time is this esoteric thing. We've decided that there are 24 hours in a day, 60, 60, 60, and that's what we have chosen to measure. All of that is totally arbitrary. Time is this esoteric concept. We all agree on watches as the way that we measure that. And similarly, value is this esoteric concept, and we use prices as the way to capture it. So I'm going to talk, so value is subjective. It is in the eye of the beholder, and it varies by person. There is no consensus on what is value. Everybody values things differently. That's what makes pricing so tricky, especially for CPAs when you have 100 or 1,000 clients. It makes it very difficult to value price. I'll get into this in a second. When you have 100 or 1,000 clients who all value things differently. So with price, we always want price to land in between cost and value. Right? You want your price to be above what it costs you to deliver the service. Now, what gets confusing for your buyer is that they are going to conflate cost and price, because the price to them is what it costs them. But the cost to you is what it costs you, which is your hourly rate plus, portion of the overhead in the office and the computers and the internet. You want the price, of course, to be above the cost. And the more that the price is above the cost, the greater the profit to you. But what we don't see, what most CPAs don't see, is the profit to the buyer. This is where it is good for your clients to charge them more, because because when you charge them more, you increase the value of the service. And the profit to your buyer when they give you money is the value to them minus the price they paid. Or if you want to think of it in terms of division, ROI, what's the return on investment? The higher the value and the lower the price, the higher the return on investment. And that is why people buy from you. When they perceive a high ROI, it makes it very easy to buy from you. So your job is to create value and to focus on creating value. Now, there is a lot of value that's already baked into the service, but many CPAs have a difficult time communicating it because they start throwing around these terms like cost segregation and overhead ratios, and we need to build out your balance sheet. And the client has no idea what the value of that is. So we need to work on translating tax and accounting jargon into what it's actually worth to the buyer. And usually it's a business outcome, or if it's a personal 1040, it's usually going to be tax savings. All right. Whoops. Let me go back up. So value, this is important because I want to get into value pricing. The most a single person will pay. It's entirely subjective and it is always determined by them. So let me talk about value pricing for just a moment, but know that I come from the school of Jonathan Stark and less the school of Ron Baker on this specific pricing tool. And Jonathan Stark talks about, I don't know if you know who he is, but he's a business coach for independent professionals. And he talks about thinking about value pricing for one-time discrete projects, a project with a beginning, a middle, and an end that is for one person. And you can establish the value to that one person in a conversation by asking them a series of questions called the why questions. Why now? Why this? Why me? Why not somebody else? To help establish the value of you doing work for them. And that project is worth at least $50K to the buyer so that you can price it at 20% of the value and it's $10K to you. So this is how I think about value pricing, is because value is specific to a single person at a single time. It makes it very difficult to value price. I think in working with my clients, I have dozens of clients, and none of them are value pricing anything in this specific way because they don't have discrete projects with a specific with a beginning, middle, and end. We use flat rate instead. It makes it much simpler, and you don't have to have the value conversation every time to establish the value with of the value that the buyer perceives. So let's just nix value pricing for now. One less tool you need to know. Here's your second question. So Randy, you can bring up the second. It's actually the third one because I swapped them on you.
Well, we may have swapped them back. So let me pull up the poll, and this is the one that says, which situation? Yes, we do have this in here. So the second question number 2.
Okay, and while folks are answering that question, I want to also open it up to questions and answer, maybe not on mic, but typed in, so that as you have questions as we go along, I can address them. Because when you have questions and you get great answers, I think it increases the value to you, right? So if you have those, type them in, and then we'll figure out how to get them to me.
And Geraldine, if they do type in questions into the Q&A, please Q&A and not chat. I will try to look at chat, but I'll look at the Q&A, and if I do see some questions pop up, I will let you know, and we will address those.
Okay, great.
And right. This is Geraldine, 90% participation in this polling question number 2. I just want to make sure everybody gets an opportunity to answer this. I did throw a fourth one in at the end, surprise to you, Geraldine, but I just want to make sure everybody has an opportunity to answer 3 of these. So we will do a fourth at the very end, just to let you know. All right, I'm going to close this. We're a minute in. I'm ending the poll, and 50% picked one-time projects as the answer here.
Yeah. Okay, good. So I want to address this because I do want to clarify, since it looks like there are a number of people who put in answers that are other than the actual answers. So productized services are best done with a flat rate. You name the price. This is the service. The price is $4,500 for this thing. I'll show you an example further down of an actual client who has created 3 productized services for her clients. And if you wrote in all of the above, access to your IP is better done either with a retainery, and I'm not a retainery, advisory retainer. I'm not talking about a retainer that is lawyer style, top up your hours, prepaid hours, like remember the phone cards of the 2000s when you could buy if you traveled internationally, you might remember top up your hours. So advisory retainer is great for access to your brains and your intellectual property, or a membership and community that is $99 a month or $4.99 a month for access to your vault of information. So for value pricing, one-time projects with a discrete beginning, middle, and end so that you can price the project and put a price on it. All right. So let's talk about what's most valuable. Transformation, experience, services, and deliverables. You've got 4 options here. Most CPAs and accountants focus on services and deliverables. I want you to stretch yourself and think about transformation and experience, because those are far more valuable to your buyer than simply delivering the P&L and the balance sheet. So what do I mean by transformation? What do I mean by experience? If you are on my email list, you might have already heard me tell this story. I write an email to my list of folks every day of the week. And if you're interested in getting a business tip every day of the week, they're short and sweet and to the point. You can find it at my website, geraldinecarter.com. But the story is that So I used to live in Idaho. I used to live in Montana. Now I live in Idaho, and I'm a fan of the travels of Lewis and Clark. And as you remember, in 1805, they were traveling across the US looking for the Pacific and trying to map it out in between. And they went over, they were in the Northern Rockies. They landed in Salmon, Idaho, in between all kinds of mountain ranges, and they were turned around. Which way do we go? There's all sorts of valleys. Sacagawea shows up on the scene. She says, "Hey, I hear you boys are looking to get to the Pacific." They said, "Yeah. Do you know how to get there?" And she said, "Sure. You want me to take you there?" And they were like, "Yes, please." Notice what she didn't say was, "I will carry your stuff." She just said, "I'm going to show you how to get there." She took them there, and the Corps of Discovery, of course, is carrying all their stuff on their canoes and everything. She didn't do the work of taking them there. She just got them from A to B. Your clients, especially your business owning clients, your real estate investors like that, not the individual orphan 1040s, where it's very difficult to squeeze value from that sponge. Your clients want to go somewhere. They are making 250,000 or maybe 2.5 million, and they want to go to the next level in their business. Or maybe they want to go from 4 properties to 5. They want to go somewhere. And if what you do is simply the service and deliverables, like if Sacagawea showed up and said, "Hey, I'm going to go get my folks and we're going to load up all your stuff and we're going to carry it for you," but we don't know where you're going and we don't know how to get you there, that's way less valuable to them, to Lewis and Clark, than her showing them how to get there. So what I want you to think about is your clients who want to go somewhere. They don't just want to stay parked in Salmon, Idaho. They don't just want to stay parked at 250,000 a year or 2.5 million or 25 million. They want to go somewhere. Or if they don't want to go somewhere, you're not going to be able to provide them as much value as you could to the person who does want to go somewhere. So I want you to think about your clients and which ones want to go somewhere, and what can you do to help them get there? And then how can you give them a great experience along the way? Really smooth onboarding process, really smooth delivery process, really smooth communications, prepped for all your meetings. You know how to get them there. You give them a great experience along the way, instead of a common experience for clients, for buyers of accounting services, is, "I need to call my CPA 4 times in order to get him to call me back. He's so busy. I can't get a hold of him." Not a great experience. So focus on transformation, focus on experience, and you will enhance the value that you provide. I promise you I'm going to get to pricing tools. And what I want you to think about is, how do I deliver value effortlessly? Because baked into the idea that working dollars per hour is that you have to do work in order to create money. This is vestige thinking. And I hear it in the form of, I feel really guilty because now my client is paying me $25,000 a year and I'm not doing any work for it. And they're like, "That feels wrong." That's a feeling that I want to encourage you to get curious about and investigate. Permission to make money without having to work. Especially for those of us who grew up working, spinning pizzas, mowing lawns, paper route, working inside a firm. We were brought up to believe that how we make money is to work time and work hours and do hard things. And we weren't taught that it's about creating value. And then once you graduate into being a business owner, now we need to think about, how do we create value for people? And I want you to focus on the ways that you can create value that don't require much work from you. And sometimes it requires one-time work where you set up the system. So that requires like fixed cost, if you will, right? Like you do it one time and then you're done. So here's how you can increase the value that you provide, the experience you provide for your buyers without doing extra work. Like I said, improve the onboarding experience, reduce the hassle factor in the onboarding experience. Don't make them fill out their name, address, email, phone number, fax number 14 times. Make them do it once, or have your admin get it so they don't have to do it at all. How many times have you been to the physician's office and you have to fill out your name and address 4 times? You've already filled it out. You know it's in the system. That's hassle factor. Improve the clarity of your onboarding experience. How many From your client's point of view, what is it like for them when they start working with you? Is it fuzzy? Is it clear? Do they know, like, if they haven't gotten you their stuff, is it because it's not clear to them what they need to get you? Focus on creating quick wins early on. Your first 90 days are when you set the tone. And if you create quick wins early on, it changes how they perceive you. And that sets the tone for how they show up in ongoing meetings. So if you create quick wins early on, they're like, oh, this guy knows what he's doing. I'm glad I made this purchase. They're going to show up differently than if they're like, oh God, gosh, another, like, right? They're going to show up differently. And improve your proactivity. If they call you, call them back within a day, 24 hours, 48 hours, whatever you decide to put in your packages, or don't wait for them to call you, right? I saw this tax change come through. This impacts you. We need to talk. All right, a whole bunch more here. Improve the timing of your communication, i.e., how quickly do you respond? Improve the clarity. I got an email from my CPA the other day that was like, I suggest you pen them a note saying that you'll only correspond with them via US whatever certified mail. And I was like, pen who a note? So I have a thing dragging around from 2019 that is like a mess. Nobody can get it sorted out. And now it's gone to collection. So he says, pen, because he thinks that he's in the right. I have no idea. But the IRS doesn't think so. So now I'm like, do I send that note to collections? What do I say? Or do I send it to the IRS? What do I say? What address do I send it to? So now I've got to write him back. And he's got to write me back. Instead of writing a clear communication the first time, that's like, here is exactly what you do. And I have a template email for it. Here's the address you send it to. Send it like this and done, right? Improve the clarity of your communication. If people are replying to you, asking clarifying questions, it's a sign that your communication is unclear, or it could be more clear. All right, so improve the likelihood of achievement. Oh my gosh. When your clients show up and they don't have a great sense of whether or not they're going to be successful in working with you, it's going to reduce the price. But if they feel confident that what they're doing working with you is going to improve the price, that's going to improve your value. Also, get them results faster and make it easier for them to get to you. Okay. So I want you to think about, I did all that because I want you to think about front loading your products and your services with value. Because once you do that, then pricing just becomes mechanics. Pricing just becomes mechanics. And I'm going to give you the mechanics. And while I take a sip of water, looks like there's a question in the Q&A.
There is. The question was, will we be providing a copy of the slides? And the answer is yes.
Of course.
We will, Geraldine will send those to us. We will send them out with the certificates.
Cool. All right, so let's talk about some mechanics, because this is where the rubber hits the road. And I'm going to show you a couple of websites, a couple of pages of websites from a client who has repriced, so you can see what it looks like once it's done. I think once you have the sort of where am I headed, it makes it easier to see how this fits in real life. So there are the three main pricing tools and curves I use with my CPAs are bronze, silver, gold, and a product ladder, two versions of bronze, silver, gold. So there's might as well, and there's Goldilocks, which I'll talk about. So the question comes, so you're thinking about packaging up your services. And the question is, how far do I spread out my prices? And what I see often is, if you don't know how far apart to spread out your prices, you'll probably collapse them and make them too close together, which makes it hard for your buyer to decide which one is appropriate for them. So we want to spread them out the right amount, but not so far that it doesn't make any sense. So these are curves, if you will, that you can use as rules of thumb to get you started. Of course, pricing is more art than science. So once you get good at this, you don't have to stick with exact numbers, but they just get you kind of headed in the right direction. So just to explain the math here, if you build out a bronze package, let's pretend like you work with real estate investors and you have real estate tax return, and then you have bookkeeping and accounting. And then at the bronze level, you have like more interactive meetings. And then at the gold level, it's white glove. And you give them, you have 5 clients in this package at the gold level, and you give them your cell phone number and they can call you anytime, kind of thing. So just for by way of example, these are not the prices that you would use, but just to explain the math, the bronze is going to be 10 grand, the silver would be 15 grand, and the gold would be 17.5. Now, more likely is that you're going to have something more like 20,000, 30,000, 35,000. In terms of, this is what I have a client who works with real estate investors as her prices just to start. And then we kind of monkey with the prices just to make them appear more palatable for the buyer. That's the art part. So that's the 21,000, 32,30, 250, 30,250, and then 34,950. When you price using the might as well curve, it drives the buyer to the gold option because they think to themselves, if I'm going to spend 21,000, then I might as well spend 30. And shoot, if I'm going to spend 30, I might as well spend 35. Might as well drives them to the gold option. By contrast, Goldilocks, who likes the middle everything, the Goldilocks curve drives them to the middle option. So you have your bronze level at 10,000, just to walk through the math here. Then your silver would be at 22 and your gold would be at 50. And 50,000 is like, ugh, I don't think I want, that's overpowered for me. I don't want to spend that much. 10,000 I think is underpowered. I need more power than that. So they choose the middle option. So if you were to design packages doing this, you might have one at 5,000, one at 12, one at 25, and then you kind of finagle the prices, because otherwise 5,000, 12,000, and 25,000 is too rounded off. It looks weird. So you finagle. This is hard for accountants, right? And I'm an engineer, right? So I'm a linear thinker. I like numbers. It's hard to think about your business being built around finagled, in air quotes, prices, but that's what you do. It's more art than science. So you end up with 51, 11, 9, and 24.5, and this drives the buyer to the silver option. So you design your packages thinking about, where do I want my buyer to land? Do I want them to land in gold, or do I want them to land in silver? How do I design and build my packages and price them accordingly so that they land where I want them to? Okay. Another option is to do a product ladder for your one-time services. And I like one-time services for the specific purpose of getting your buyers to become a client by working with you one time without having to become your full-time accounting or tax client. They can consult with you, if you will, without making the entire switch, which is usually how it is now. It's like, either I'm working with you and I have all your files and all your books and all your everything, or I'm not working with you. Whereas a one-time service helps bridge the gap, and they can get a sense of what it's like to work with you. You can give them a ton of value, and they think to themselves, oh, so much better over here. I'm totally moving everything over to you. So a product ladder is more like factors of 10, and we start at the top, 25 grand, you move down to 2,500, 250, and 25, and you're thinking, what on earth is this for? Here's what it's for. 25 grand is like a 3-month tax planning and consulting package. 2,500 is a 1-day intensive where we look in your books. We figure out, like, if you have a business owner who's at $500,000 and everything's a mess and it's chaos back there, you want to have a peek inside before you take them on as your client, and they want to know what it's going to be like to work with you. So you have a 1-day intensive, or maybe it's 6 hours, or maybe it's 4 hours. You decide how you want to price it and deliver it. But it's 2,500. We walk through your books, your tax situations. I will give you a 1-page PDF of recommendations of changes to make, and you go implement. Right, 295. Just for easy math here is a single strategy session. We meet for 45 minutes. If you want notes, bring a pen. Or you make a video course at 250, and at $25 you sell an ebook. Just for illustrative purposes, I'm not suggesting that these be your exact prices. So let me give you some examples and bring this stuff to life. I have a client who has niched into farming. Niching makes all your pricing easier, because now you're just pricing one kind of client instead of your manufacturing client, your pharmacy, your running shoe store, and the church. It's really hard to price clients who are different, but she's niched into farmers. My other client, the next one down, is niched into coaches. The next one down is niched into multi-generational wealth management for families, and the last one is niched into real estate investors. Makes pricing so much easier. So here's what this looks like. So this is the homepage, just so if you go there, you're oriented. And she has a consultative service that is $30,000. Basically, it takes a couple months to deliver. You meet a bunch of times. The farmer gets a high-level plan. For tax savings, she knows farming inside and out. She lives in South Texas. She does not do the work. She does zero implementation. She only studies the financials. She looks at the balance sheets. She looks at the interest rates that the guy's paying on the bank loans. She looks at, are all the pivots and the irrigation pipes and all the rest, the wells and the fences, are they all on the balance sheet? Because she looks at all, she'll do like a thorough study of the farm, write up a report, tell the farmer delivers that report to their existing CPA. That CPA does all the implementation. She's available for consultation for a period of time to make sure it gets implemented correctly. $30,000. All it is consulting and a bit of legwork, but it's just using her brain. She's not doing the implementing. For $5,000, basic review and consultation, it's much less intensive. She'll do a higher level to just pick out the obvious stuff. And for $1,000, she'll consult with you for an hour. She's deepened her expertise. She only works with farmers because she can create a bunch of value really quickly. Excuse me. Because she can create a bunch of value really quickly, she can charge a lot of money because the money is in the value, not in the time. So meanwhile, she has kept her tax practice. She calls it her tax factory. There's the website design here plays on soybeans because in South Texas, they grow a lot of soy. And we did flat rate for her tax return clients. Right? The big one for people who've got a lot going on starts at $4,500. The middle one starts at $2,500. It comes with prep, file, and support. But if you just have a 1040 and your situation's pretty straightforward, it starts at $495. Before we finalize the price, we're just going to have a look at everything to make sure that our price is accurate for you. But this gives you a sense of, this is like me pretending that I'm her talking to the client. This gives you a sense of what the prices are based on how complex your situation is and what level of service you want. Okay, so this is how we take all this pricing theory and we apply it inside the accounting firm so that their pricing is clear upfront and has nothing to do with time. So this is your last of your poll questions.
Except for the one that I made up. All right. Poll number 3, I'm launching now, which is the might as well pricing curve.
Which one is might as well? And I'll give you a hint. It's the one that makes you think, if I'm going to do bronze, I might as well do silver. And if I would do silver, I might as well do gold.
Geraldine, the two pricing options you showed us with the farming expert there, those were 2 different models that we're seeing here, right?
Yes. Yep.
Was the last one the might as well version, or how would you call that one? The tax return.
Yeah. So I'd probably put that more in Goldilocks.
Goldilocks. Okay.
Because the top one
that makes
was
sense.
10. I mean, it was basically 10 times the bottom one.
Yep. Makes sense.
With a combination of, I want to say flat rate, but it starts at, which basically just kind of CYA for her, in case somebody shows up with something that's far more complex than anticipated. She's got some buffer to be like, look, this is like way out in left field in terms of complexity. Yours isn't going to be $4,500. It's going to be $6,500. But she will still name a flat price for that buyer before they get started doing the work. And, so that he can agree, yes, I want this for that price.
Okay. I'm going to end this poll now. We're at 95% participation. 2/3 picked in the option 1 times, 1.5 times, 1.75 times.
All right, great. So might as well takes you from, if it makes the buyer think, if I'm going to buy bronze, I might as well buy silver. If I'm going to buy silver, I might as well buy gold. And you load the value in a way that makes them want to go down that curve. All right. And the reason that I picked might as well as the answer here is because it's the place when I'm working with my clients to package and reprice their services. It's where we tend to start, because we're still getting used to understanding what the value is to the buyer. And it's oftentimes hard for my client to see a price that's 5 times. It's like too far of a reach for them on the inside. So we start with might as well, and to get them going. All right. I'm going to get into some tangible stuff that I know you all deal with. Let's talk about scope creep. This is, of course, a common problem, but I want to talk about scope, not just creeping. It's sort of like, is it if you positioned credit card debt, like, I don't know how I got that into $10,000 worth of credit card debt, just crept up on me. Or like, I don't know how I gained 10 pounds, it just crept up on me. Let's be honest, it doesn't just creep up on you. It happens because you make choices over time that you kind of pretend like it's fine and ignore until you're like, oh no, how did this creep up on me? Scope creep doesn't just creep. It happens because of a series of decisions that are made in the moment that compound over time. I want you to feel more sense of agency and control about scope creep, because when we position it as scope creep and it just happens, we take ourselves out of responsibility for having allowed it to happen. So how do you deal with scope creep? Number one, so let me first say this. We want our buyers to succeed and grow, especially our business owning clients, our real estate investors. We want them to succeed and grow. So don't think of scope creep necessarily as a bad thing. Think of it as potentially a sign that they want more from you. When they want more from you, that's potentially a good thing. So how do you manage it? And there are a couple of things you can do. One of them is set the expectation. Hey, look, we provide a high level of service around here. We charge money for it. When random things come up, if it's easy, we just want to take care of it. We don't want to bug you for it. But if it's beyond scope and it sort of starts to bleed over into the next level of service up, we'll probably do it once because we don't think it's worth a phone call to bug either of us. And we don't want to invoice you for 15 minutes. But if you start to tend into needing, if you're in bronze now and you start to need silver, we're going to have a conversation about it. And then you can choose if you want those things and we can bump you up into silver. So you set the expectation at the outset that that is coming, so that inevitably, when they start to creep, what they ask for, you could say, hey, remember this conversation that we had? It sounds like some of the things you're starting to ask for are what our clients in the silver package are getting. Are you interested in what's in the silver package? If you're interested in bumping up, we can start bumping you up starting next month, and you'll see the reflection there. We'll take care of it today. Don't worry about it. But that's where this is headed. And they can either say yes, or they can say no. And if they say no, then you say, okay, great. So we're not going to do this, or a nicer, more elegant version of that. And you can also, sometimes if your staff maybe isn't managing well, then manage your staff so they can catch it. But you revisit your service line quarterly to be like, hey, just want to check in with you. Here's what we're doing for you. Here are a couple of things where you're starting to bleed into silver. Do you want to upgrade? And if you set the expectation that you're going to manage scope and visit it quarterly, they know it's coming and they can choose whether or not they want to bump up. And like I said earlier, just a minute ago, you can adopt this like, hey, we did it this one time, no big deal. But if it's something that you start to need on an ongoing basis, let's talk about how to. Talk about getting you into the level of service that's more appropriate for you. But what you don't want to do is just do it and do it for free, because then they become a difficult client. And then you'll be serving them at the level that is silver and they're only paying for bronze. And then when it's time to actually upgrade them to silver, they're just going to bounce because they're going to say, well, why am I going to pay more for something I've been getting for free for so long? So this is something that you want to think about proactively managing. And those 3 bullets are some tools that you can employ to manage to scope creep. All right, let's talk about raising prices. This comes up all the time. How do I raise prices on existing clients? So the hardest thing to do is to just raise prices without increasing value, because now suddenly their ROI drops. So your job, if you want to raise prices, is to also increase value. So it's incumbent upon you to look for ways that you can increase the value of your service so that when you raise the price, it still falls well underneath the value. Remember the little equation from the very top where I said cost has to be less than price, has to be less than value. So when you're raising prices, first look at increasing the value. And the next thing to do is that it's easiest to bring on new clients at higher prices than it is to raise prices on existing clients. You bring on new clients at higher prices, it boosts your revenue, it increases your confidence, and you become less attached to whether or not your existing clients who are priced too low actually stay with you. Because if they don't want to upgrade in price, you're like, sorry, I just can't serve you at this price anymore. Let me make some recommendations. Another option, if you are raising price on existing clients, you can say to them, let's just pretend here, your old price was $10,000. I'm bringing clients into this same level of service now for $20,000. But if you want, for you, I will split the difference. It's $15,000. So you're stair-stepping them up over time by continually splitting the difference between what the new clients are coming in at and where they were at the old price. That helps them kind of get caught up over time and stair-step up to the new price. Or, once you have a roster full of clients coming in at your top prices, you may say it's not available at this price anymore. And I'm sorry, I'm not suggesting that you do that right away. That's a heartstrings thing. That's for you to decide. But the split the difference is a tool that you can use to raise prices on existing clients. If you're doing a price hike, especially for tax returns for the 2023 tax season, give them ample time. I see my clients sometimes get caught behind the 8 ball because they haven't given themselves ample time to figure out what their pricing is going to be. And then all of a sudden it's December, it's crunch time, and they're trying to get engagement letters out. If you're thinking about raising prices for the 2023 tax season, now is the time to be thinking about it, because you can start sending out engagement letters in October. You can craft the letters in September, test a batch in October, see what the response is, send another batch out in November, and send a third batch out in December. When you test your prices and you send them out in batches, you buy yourself a lot of time, and you give your buyer, your client, time, if they decline on the price, time to find somebody else. And you don't leave them high and dry raising the price in March when they're like, crap, all the CPAs are totally swamped right now. Another way to increase your prices is when you create a new bronze, silver, gold, that you position the thing that they're in right now between bronze and silver, so that they can either choose to upgrade into silver and spend more money, or they can choose downgrade and spend less and go into bronze. So you can just say, we're ending this service line. We're no longer serving clients with in this exact way, but here are 3 options. You can step up into silver, you can step down into bronze. That way they don't feel like their only option is to pay you more. They have an option to pay you less. It just feels like less, manipulative is not the right word, but less like, it feels less tacticky. It feels more like they've got choice in what they're spending money on. And the third option, or the 5th option here is, if you really just can't serve them at this rate any longer because it's just costing you way too much money, you say, I'm no longer providing this level of service. And you stop talking. That's the hardest one. It's the one my clients use the least. All right. Summary. It's good to charge your clients more. If you take nothing else away from today, think about it's good for your clients when you charge them more. Find ways to create effortless value so that you're not working more to create money. Pricing menus work. Bronze, silver, gold gives your clients choices. Value pricing, the way that I teach it, I find uncommon with my clients. The 99% of them, probably 100 if I actually went all the way through and cataloged it, are using menu pricing. Welcome scope creep. Your clients are growing. Welcome it. Find a way to manage it so that they become bigger and better clients in time. And when it comes to pricing increases for your clients, I just gave you 5 ways that you can manage price increases depending on the nature of the situation. So with that, I'll leave you with this slide here has my URL at the bottom if you want to get in touch with me for whatever reason. And we can go over to questions.
And I'm going to, oh, I'm
I
sorry,
was just going to
Geraldine.
say that I don't have a hard stop. I don't know if you want to close down at the top of the hour, but just know that I don't have a hard stop.
Okay, and I'm going to put up that fourth polling question just in case anybody missed one. Fourth polling question. That's a pretty easy one. Do you want more free CPE? We will offer as much as you want. So I'm hoping everybody says yes. We will put that up there and let that go for a minute. And then here, did you want to oh, we've got the about Geraldine. I'll let you go for a minute, and then I may put up a slide when we close out here.
Yeah,
All
I think
right.
folks have got this. They could take a screenshot if they want it.
Yep, just making sure that they see the geraldinecarter.com.
Yep.
Is there other ways to get a hold of you as well, or is that the main? Is that the best way?
Let's see. You know what? I should put my email address on here.
You could type it in the chat, maybe. Or...
Yeah, here it's quite simple. It's gc@geraldinecarter.com.
All right, easy enough. All right, I'm going to close this last polling question, and we will get everybody's CP out to them if you met the requirements, the 50 minutes, and answered 3 of the 4 questions. Along with those certificates, we will also put out a copy of Geraldine's slides. And while we are doing that, I am going to see if I can do a quick screen share. And let's see. Are you seeing?
Yep.
Okay, so this is what I was talking about at the beginning. I just want to quickly reiterate that this Friday, if you want to watch this live on YouTube, we will be doing this live season 3 finale of the Unique CPA podcast from the Beer Temple. There probably will be beer and other drinks involved in the evening, but we'll probably go about an hour and a half of discussions with, you see the guest there, Dawn Brolin, who's the designated motivator. Dawn's been on the top 100 most influential people in accounting. Josh Lance was just named managing partner elite by Accounting Today. Kenji Koremoto and his partner Matthew May, who's not listed here, run Acuity, which is a 150-person online accounting and tax firm. Alan Colton, everybody knows. Probably one of the most recognizes faces and voices in accounting. Blake Oliver, who runs Earmark, which, Geraldine, is your podcast on Earmark? I think I saw it was.
It is, yep.
Okay, so you can listen to Geraldine's podcast on Earmark and get CP for listening to our podcast. Our podcast is on there as well. And Blake is also the host of the Clouding County podcast, which is the #1, according to Blake at least, accounting podcast in the world. And then Scott Scarano, who's the creator of the Sons of CPAs podcast and owner of a accounting firm in North Carolina. Those will be the guests on the show. And then one last thing before we see if there's any final questions, is we will have our virtual conference, which I mentioned at the beginning, November 30th, December 1st of this year. You can see the speakers. I need to change that on the bottom because Jennifer Wilson is confirmed, so she will be there along with a lot of names you probably recognize there. I keep quoting Accounting Today, but I think 4 of those people are on the top 10 most influential people in accounting list. So we've got some great speakers, going to have some great information, practice management, tax updates, crypto, currency, tax, and accounting. So that's more free CPE that you all said yes, you would like more free CPE. You all said yes to that. Those are things we have coming up. That being said, we are about at the top of the hour. I don't see any more questions coming in. Geraldine, I'll let you put any final thoughts in you like, or we can wrap it up.
My final thought is the one thing to take away. It's good for your clients when you charge them more.
I couldn't agree more. This is a topic that I discuss a lot on podcasts, and it comes up all the time. And I think you did a great job of educating us on ways to do this and reasons to do this. And it's better for all of us if we do this. So I think this is great. Well, thank you very much, Geraldine. And again, I want to thank everybody for attending either live here today or on our YouTube channel, which this will go up live on tomorrow. Again, thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Randy. Thanks, everyone.